Now we have made it to the second row of the WYSIWYG toolbar, and we're going to start out looking at these three tabs: font size, blocks, and formats. So font size, you note that I wrote 6 headings here, and that's what we're going to work with here for a bit. Font size does exactly what you think it does. You can drop it down and change the size of your font. And if you want, you could use the styling tools to do various appearances. So that one's pretty easy. Blocks and formats needs a bit of discussion here. And blocks, to put it simply, should be thought of as what your text is, in terms of not physically, but physically is kind of sort of what we're leaning toward. Styles is what your text looks like. So there is a difference between the two. And to put this into a frame of reference, a lot of us, when we came up through school and we wrote papers in word processors, Word, WordPerfect, whatnot, when we had a document title or a subject title, subheads in our documents, we would simply make a piece of text bold and make it a little bit bigger. And in a visual sense, that works perfectly. Whoever's reading that paper is going to understand that they're reading a title or a subhead or whatnot. But in an accessibility light for somebody with a screen reader, it's not going to make any difference. It's still going to be the same type of text as the rest. And that's what blocks allows us to do. Blocks allows us to put a sort of indicator in the source code on that text to indicate to a screen reader what the text is. Why is this important? Well, to put it in the perspective of a sighted individual, if you read newspapers or magazines or, yes, other websites, we scan pages looking for articles we want based on the headlines. So, for example, if you're a fan of Kansas City sports teams and you don't really read about anyone else's sports teams, you just like to read about, say, the Royals and the Chiefs, for example, and you don't really care about the rest, and you get your newspaper sports page, you fold over to it, and you're going to scan the headlines of the news articles for articles about the Chiefs and the Royals. And those are the articles you're going to stop and read, and the rest of the articles you may not have any interest in, and you may skip over them. So headings allow a user using an assistive technology such as NVDA or JAWS to do the same sort of scan on a document. What it's going to do is it's going to indicate the headings to them, and the headings with the information that they think they're going to want to be presented are going to stop at that point in the document or the web page, and they're going to listen to that information. If you don't do that, if the entire web page is all in paragraph format, then what it's going to do is it's just going to start at the beginning and it's going to read the entire thing through to the end, and it's not going to indicate what is a heading or subhead to the user. So the use of headings is very important in an accessible light. And we set headings here in the blocks tab. Another question, what are blocks? Blocks are the content on web pages that exist between clicks of the return or enter key. As a Mac, I have the return key, and I believe on PCs you have the enter key. So every time we go down a space, like so, that's a click for me of the return key, and for PC users of the enter key. So everything that's content-wise existing between 2 clicks is a block. And we can look at the blocks on a web page in OmniCMS using another button that's just a little bit over here to the right, with a dotted line surround and a paragraph symbol in the center. It says show blocks. If I click that, I can see each separate block separated from the rest in a dotted line box, like so. That can be kind of a useful tool. If you find that somebody sends you a document that's in raw text or in RTF format, you can make sure before you start formatting things where those blocks lie. Because format in a block, you don't have to highlight the whole thing to change it. All you have to do is click on it once, go to the blocks tab. In this case, it's a heading 1. So I'm going to bring up a drop down. You see we have a lot of options in there. And I'm going to click heading 1. And the status of it has changed to heading 1. It is a heading 1. And we can go through the rest and do the same thing. 4, 5, and 6. Like so. So as you're working on your web pages, one thing is on the normal web pages, I'll click over to the live page here, and where we have standard content page at the top, that's automatically set as a heading 1, H1. And heading 1 is basically referred to or thought of as document title. So it's in general good practice to not follow the page title with another heading 1, because each time you use heading 1, for somebody who uses assistive technology quite a bit, they've sort of come to expect that every heading 1 is a document title. So it'd be the same as having document title repeatedly throughout the document. You would want to follow it with a heading 2 and then work from there. Now, there are some rules to meet accessibility standards with headings. Headings, each heading can be followed with the same type of heading. For example, a heading 2 can be followed by another heading 2 and can just continue down that style. Heading 2 can be followed by a heading 3. They can be followed by a heading 1 step under. So a heading 2 can be followed by a 3 can be followed by a 4, and so on and so forth. Headings can go any number of steps back up the ladder. So a heading 5 could be followed by a heading 2 with no problem. What would cause an accessibility error in the system that would stop your page from being published is following a heading with another heading that skips steps. So if you follow a heading 2 with a heading 5, it will cause an accessibility error. So you don't want to do that. You want to always go either the same step or 1 step down as you go down through your document. Where this ends up being a conflict some of the time is in the visual aspect, which brings us over to the Formats tab. This is how it looks. Heading is what it is, and format is how it will look. A lot of people will create websites and they don't like the way the heading 2 looks when they use it at the top under the big title. They think it's a little big and ostentatious, and they like to go for something a little more subtle. So they go heading 3. And there are a lot of people out there who will go instantly after it and set it to heading 3. And they will go to publish their page and they will get an accessibility error, because since the text at the top of the page is automatically set to heading 1, they went to heading 3, they skipped a step. So you don't want to do that. The Format tab allows you to leave that heading just the same type of heading as it is, but change the look of it. So if I want this heading 2 to look smaller like a heading 3, I'll come over, click on Styles here in the Formats, and I'll choose heading 3. And now you can see that while it's still a heading 2 in terms of blocks, the style of it has changed to heading 3. So that's very useful to keep the proper heading type to meet accessibility standards while changing the look. That is to get that look that's important to you for your web page. A common accessibility error that we see dealing with headings throughout the web pages that the system actually doesn't pick up on, but is actually an accessibility error and should be avoided because it does turn up on external scanners. Like, for example, the scanners used by the National Federation for the Blind is going to some text that you want to appear as a heading and using the Format tab to set it to that style, but not set it as a heading in the Blocks tab. While this is a heading to someone who visually looks at it, it is not indicated as a heading for those with assistive technology. It's still indicated as paragraph, which means when it reads this page to them, it's not going to indicate that this text right here is any different than any of the rest of the text. So you don't want to do that. You still want to come over here and set it as that heading type. Once you've done that, you can use the Styles tab.